All right. Welcome back to another Dirty 30 podcast. Podcast after the draft. How's everyone's teams looking? What are you guys thinking?
ESPN and I both feel pretty similar. Having us up towards the top, I think they know what they're talking about. So
Sure.
Yeah.
Debbie, how you feeling about the team?
I'm in ninth place right now, and I love it.
Oh,
Sky's the limit.
I got you beat actually. I'm ESPN has me in 10th place. So they don't like my team at all. I don't understand why. So
ESPN doesn't like stud running backs, apparently.
must not must not. So today's show, we're gonna maybe talk about our teams a little bit, and then we're gonna get into like Jay's picks we liked, kind of in the first part of the draft, picks we like in the back half of the draft, and then we'll talk a little bit about position groups and kind of wrap this thing up a little bit. So maybe let's go team by team. Christian, you got a pick you like that you made, or maybe a pick that you don't like? Just give me a little
yeah. So
synopsis here.
so I obviously kept Cup and Andrews, and I traded the first overall pick where I could have got JT, but I was able to get Henry at number 2 instead. But the pick that I used for trading that number 1 pick, I was able to get Hollywood Brown, which I was very excited about. I know I have Connor, but I feel like having 2 Cardinals might not be a bad thing. They should be a pretty high scoring team. I was also really happy with the Amon-Ra St. Brown pick. He was definitely one of my guys going into the year, so I was pretty excited to get him. But I didn't love when I ended up kind of in that range of like the Pollard Hines range where I took Pollard and Hines. It was almost like I didn't know what to do at that point, and I just kind of took a guy. I mean, I took 2 guys that I were like, like I like them, but they're not really going to be in my starting lineup until either one of Zeke or JT get hurt, or they show me they can produce on a consistent level. So those were kind of my 2 picks that I was just like,
Yeah. Well, I know you're high on Brown and St. Brown, and yeah, that's awesome, buddy. Debbie, picks you like or pick you don't like? What you think of the
Yeah,
draft?
I mean, with all the trades and everything, starting off with Najee and CMC in the first there, and then Javante, and then losing all of those picks until round 6, was it, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I needed to hit receiver. I was really happy to get, Elijah Moore. I was really high on him. So having him, and then, even getting Lance and Ayuk, a little stacked there. So I like that. No secret. The one I didn't like was, and I wish I could take this back, was Tua in the 10th round, who I've dropped already. I got nothing. So I have no idea why or what process was.
I got a feeling we'll talk about that later in the pod also. So
Yeah.
yeah, I was surprised Elijah Moore was there for you, buddy. I honestly thought you were gonna get even
Me too.
a worse caliber receiver. So I thought that worked out for you pretty well. I like most of I surprised that AJ Dillon got to the 4th. I was big on like the Packers running backs in general, right? I just think that offense now goes through the running backs. You know how much I love Aaron Jones. AJ Dillon is 1A of 1A, says Matt LaFleur. So I'm into that. My Kittle pick, and it's not like I hate it, but like just to see where Kittle went compared to like Waller and Schultz was like a little depressing when I came home. But what do you do? What do you do? So I'm gonna break down let's just go the first half of the rounds. Let's go that route. All right. So the first 8 rounds, kind of players that we like, players that we dislike, and then just intriguing players, right? Whatever that really means to you. And I'll maybe start it off here. So the picks that I liked kind of in that top half of the board, I thought that 2 4th-round wide receivers. I thought DK Metcalf in the 4th and Deontay Johnson in the 4th were just steals for both of them. I thought Deontay is like the perfect wide receiver that Rhodey should be aiming for with those 3 backs, I thought. And then Metcalf, like I honestly would have taken him like in the third if I hadn't already gone wide out. So I was pretty pumped about that. The pick I disliked kind of in the first half was Elijah Mitchell. I'm just not an Elijah Mitchell guy. I took Sermon last year. I took Sermon this year. I took the other rookie this year. Like, I'm just going to place bets on other people than Elijah Mitchell. I think he's small and I think he gets hurt a lot. So, an intriguing pick. Like, I love Adam Thielen in the 8th. I think I told everyone at the draft, like, you can't give Justin Jefferson that bump and not also give Thielen that bump. Like, I understand they're both really good players, but like the 8th round just seems a little too late to me. Yeah. I don't know who wants to go next here, Dev or Christian.
Christian, go for it.
Sure. Yeah. In the first half, one pick I loved, and I don't think this was much of a surprise. I think we've talked about him on other shows, but I loved Allen Lazard. I've actually since made an offer for Lazard, which I don't think Dirk really checks his app or his team very often because I haven't gotten a decline or accept. But he's a guy that I think is just, you almost have to assume he's going to get double-digit touchdowns or be at least Rodgers' main guy, especially in the red zone. So I liked that pick in the 8th round, especially. Pick I didn't like, another one of Marcus's running backs, Antonio Gibson in the 4th. Antonio, that's just, I don't know. I mean, I get it. I get like the need for a running back when he was there, and you see Gibson on there, and I don't know. Apparently it intrigued him to an extent. But I feel like his role is just declining more and more, and all the reports could not be worse. He's now the team's primary kick returner. So imagine like your team's kick returner returns the ball and then he like stays out on the field for the huddle. It's just not very likely. And then a pick that intrigued me a lot was Darren Waller in the 7th. Like you said, there was like the Kittle range, and Pitts went early 3rd. And then for Waller to drop a few more rounds of the 7th, I mean, he's one of the most talented tight ends in the league. And, if people are going to be doubling on Devontae, if Waller can stay healthy, I think he could have a pretty good year. So I like that pick as well.
Yeah, me too, man. I agree with all those.
That's actually a good transition into my because I picked Eric drafted Hunter Renfrow in the 8th round, and pretty much like what you said with Waller. I mean, Hunter's already been, surprisingly doing well, with Carr and, throwing Adams in there. And if he gets double teamed or whatever, it's going to be the Waller and Renfrow show. So I think that's, in the 8th round, that's a really good pick. Just like CEH, just not a fan. And maybe he turns around. I don't know. He's in, it's nice that he's in such a good offense, but I just don't know what the hell is going on in that backfield. So, and in the 6th round, I don't know. Maybe he could have fell a little bit more, but and then Hopkins in the 8th. I love that. I'm missing the 6 weeks is what it is, but you got Kyler throwing you the ball, and dude's just a baller anyway. So if you get a little discount on him and you have the wide receivers to, have him ride your bench for a little while and you're set, then, taking that gamble is definitely worth it. So.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of things that people like don't realize this year is like bye weeks start at week 6, right? So where they normally start at week 4, I think that pushback is just like you're more likely to have, a full roster, and hopefully Hopkins is back then, was kind of my thought. Yeah. So going into different drafts, I mean, that's just something to really think about. Yeah. It felt good to me. Bottom half of the draft now, we're going to kind of break things up here this way. I thought Devonta Smith in the 10th was a steal. That was something that I obviously really liked. Big Devonta Smith guy. I understand AJ Brown comes over, but I mean, good players are good players. And I think Devonta Smith is one of those. My dislike, pretty obvious here. It's also Tua in the 10th.
It's Devonta went one right after him, I think.
Was he?
Actually, so I could have had him.
So, Burrow, Brady, I don't even Stafford, Rodgers, all those guys
Rodgers.
are still there. So I don't know. And I'm going intriguing picks. I kind of double dipped here with Sermon and then Tyrion Davis price in the 13th, 15th, just placing a bet on a good backfield. Those are kind of my late round picks that I kind of liked and disliked and were intriguing to me. Christian.
Yeah, the pick that I liked in the back half of the draft, I thought about taking him right before, but since I already had St. Brown, I didn't want to double up on Lions receivers, but getting Jameson Williams where Kyle did, the quality of player and first round pick, I think the offense is going to improve. Getting a guy like that where he might miss 4 games, he might miss 8, but regardless, at the end of the year, if he shows any promise, that's a very, very solid keeper option. A pick I did not like, and I don't want to rip on Marcus again after the Gibson pick, but Burrow in the 11th made 0 sense to me. If he didn't have a quarterback, or if he had a subpar quarterback, even like an average quarterback at the time, I could maybe get it, but taking Burrow in the 11th when you have Josh Allen, you're only going to start him maybe 1 game all year during the bye. And he ended up with Dawson Knox as his tight end, and maybe that was his plan with Josh Allen, but he could have had Goddard, who I'm much higher on than Knox. No disrespect to Knox, but I feel like there were a lot of positions that he could have gone. He could have gone Henderson at running back, maybe got a little more depth there after those sick receivers he started with. But so Burrow, I didn't love. My intriguing one was Amari Cooper in the 10th. Obviously, he's going to go through some pains with Jacoby. But once Deshaun gets back, if there's a good rapport between the two and Amari stays next year, you can't argue. I mean, that could be like a Michael Thomas type keeper in the 10th round, like you had this year. So he could be Deshaun's favorite guy, and that could be a solid keeper next. So that intrigues me.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah. My like was Goddard, 12th round. I love him as a tight end. I love him in Philly. I think he has a huge year this year. So I think that's just a steal of a pick there.
Yeah.
Dislike, I had to put Tua. So my other dislike, and you capped on that earlier, Christian, was Hines in the 10th. I don't know. Maybe there was someone else there that, probably would have, I think he could have slid a little bit further, but
yep.
You already touched on that. So, and then, my intriguing one was Jameson Williams. Again, I agree with everything you said. Could be 4 weeks, could be a little bit more, but that the talent is there, and 14th round, that's just a steal. So.
Yeah, that Goddard in the 12th is just making me even more depressed about my Kittle pick early on. That is, I didn't realize he was that late. That's just, that's a great pick. Honestly, great pick. Position groups. So we each kind of picked running backs or wideouts, just groups on teams that we like, dislike, or just kind of intrigued about. The group I like is Derek's running backs groups, like that. Worked out pretty nice for the guy. Barkley, Chubb, Dobbins, Kareem Hunt, Damian Pierce, Daryl Henderson.
Damn.
Solid group.
Pretty nice group of running backs, right? People are going to be coming asking. Yep, coming asking for some running backs there. The group I dislike, and I don't even know if I dislike, it's just hey, no stud. I'm my own running back group, right? It's just Dylan, Ramondre Stevenson, what else I got? CEH. You just kind of wish there was someone, you just wish all those guys kind of went down one in your roster. You wish you had kind of a stud, and all those guys were kind of 2 through 4 as opposed to 1, 2, 3. But hopefully the wideouts can kind of balance things out. open to trade offers as always. So maybe that's my little hint there. The group I'm intrigued about, and really his team in general, is Eric's team, but the group I'm intrigued about is his wide receiver group. It's Stephon Diggs, Keenan, DJ Moore, Juju, Hunter Renfro, and then Galladay, and then Jahan Dotson. I mean, Renfro sitting there on the bench, Juju, like just a good group of wide receivers paired with a good group of quarterbacks. It's just I'm intrigued by that group, and I think Eric has a really nice team in general. His running back groups ain't too bad either. So what do you got there, Christian?
Yeah, and this is not a hot take by any means, but the group I like, obviously, you gotta love Marcus's receivers, you gotta love Kyle's running backs. I mean, I wrote down Kyle's running backs, but I mean, that's just so fucking obvious. I mean, but
nothing wrong with the obvious.
He made the move for JT, and he kept Swift and Mixon, which were great keepers. But I mean, but Marcus having the balls to go receiver, Kelsey, and then receiver, was starting with no running backs through his first like 5 staples, and getting Tyreek and AJ Brown on top of Chase and Lamb. I'm definitely not looking forward to playing Marcus week 1. All those guys are going to be healthy, knock on wood. So I both of those guys definitely made a point to push for the title. A group I didn't like, obviously Dev was kind of shorthanded with his picks, and I like Elijah Moore. I don't hate Ayuk, but after that, I feel like just looking at it, I'm not a Treylon Burks guy. I know you are, and you got to take your boys, but you banked on the 2 rookie receivers and Olave and Burks, and that's fine. One of them could pan out, and one of them could be a good keeper. But I know everyone knows I'm not a Julio guy. I think he's washed up. I think Rondale Moore is a whiny little bitch, and I don't think he's any good either. And KJ Osborne's a wide receiver 3 on, a team with guys who are probably going to catch 10 plus touchdowns. A group that intrigues me, but I do like the rest of your team, obviously, Devin. I mean, you're running back, and you got your boy Lance, so there's nothing wrong with that. But what intrigues me is Craig's running backs. I was surprised when he took Zeke. I think a lot of people might have been too, but I mean, he has guys that like should be good, but you just don't know, like uncertainty with the O-line, with Leonard Fournette, uncertainty with the O-line with Zeke. You never know about Montgomery, but I think if you look at all 3 guys, like all 3 guys are good NFL running backs. It's just whether this year is going to kind of bring it together. And he got Chase Edmonds, who I think could be a pretty good pass catching back to fill in the flex. But I'm intrigued by his running backs for sure.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect use of intrigued, right? I think his running backs are definitely they're intriguing. They could be top 50.
They could all be RB1s,
correct.
They
could be top 10, could be top 30,
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting. Debbie, what do you got here, man?
Yeah, I like Marcus's receivers. No surprise there. Chase Hill. I love AJ Brown. I'll probably, end up getting him on my team at some point this season. And CD, I mean, I don't even need to name them all, but you have those 4 and just like, holy shit. And then sticking with Marcus, his running backs, Breece Hall, who knows what the hell is going to happen there. Mitchell, like you, I'm not a fan. Gibson, yuck. And then Walker, I mean.
That's the group you dislike, Marcus's running backs.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm just not really, and they could all pan out, but I'm just not really, really high on any of those guys. And then my intriguing group was yours, Matt, your wideouts. You got Adams and Waddle and Evans and Thomas. Those are 4 solid ones right there. But then pretty deep on the bench, you got D-Hop waiting in the weeds, and you got Drake London, who's pretty much on an island by himself in Atlanta. aside from Pitts, obviously, and then you got Garrett Wilson. So that's 7 receivers right there that are all super solid. So the intriguing part is probably some upcoming trades with those guys. And then I don't know, just seeing how you kind of navigate through the waters with that, even if you don't trade them on deciding who to play each week and everything. So
yeah. Yeah, I just couldn't help myself, dude. They just kept
I
coming, and
would
kept
not be
coming.
complaining with that
No,
group of receivers. So
they kept coming. I didn't like the running back. I said, all right, I'll take another wideout, I guess. I don't know, man. I don't know. Any final thoughts?
I mean, honestly, I don't think I was just gonna say, like, I feel like just in the last 10 years, how long we've been doing this, everyone, like, it's so unpredictable, but everyone is getting really like good. Like, you just know that at the end of the draft, and I know we get to keep 2 guys. I know there's only 10 players, 10 members, but like everybody came out with like a team that I would be like, I could go into the season with this team.
I agree, man.
Like,
I didn't hate anyone's team. I
nailed it. Yeah.
I kept going down, and I was like, oh, that's another pretty good team. Oh, and he's got like 3-4 players on the bench that can all start. And I just it went like down, I don't know, all 10 of us. It was wild.
This year is gonna be a lot of fun. Every team is good. So it's gonna be, I think there's gonna be a lot of bitching this year because there's probably gonna be a lot of close matchups.
Yeah, and there's gonna be teams that miss playoffs with a winning record. I would bet anything.
Yeah.
I would bet the 7 seed who misses playoffs ends up, 8-7 or whatever they end up being, 8-6 or 7-6, whatever it ends up being.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it, boys. Yeah, I think that's gonna wrap up today's episode. Next week, Tanner pitched it at the draft. I think we should break down the draft day trades and just kind of see how that all planned out. The trade between me and Christian, and just see, like, put names to picks, and just kind of talk about that stuff. I'm sure we'll have a couple of trades to discuss. We got 1 more week to kind of fill before week 1, so we'll kind of do that. It's kind of my thought. So
we're almost there.
That sound good to you guys?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Sounds great.
Sounds good. All right. Well, hopefully everyone had fun with this, and we'll see you guys next week.
All right.
Yeah.